You're listening to the Beyond the Dojo podcast. I'm Lauren.
I'm Jeremiah.
And we are on, I think this is episode 16. As we mentioned in the last episode, we're going to spend a few episodes talking about getting ready for Shodan and all of the wonderful joys that come with that and the not so joyous parts. And we actually have our first guest. Oh, first of all, if the quality of the sound is completely amazing, it's because I finally stopped being a cheapo and we actually bought a microphone. So kudos to us. Heck yeah. All right, so we have our first guests. Say hi, Realin.
Hi.
And Rob.
Hello.
So these two are a couple of our students, and they've been training with us for a while. So we're going to kind of talk to them about their recent Shodan exam. You guys ready?
Sure.
Yeah.
So ready. Okay, so first of all, introduce yourself. Tell us your name and age of your name, your age, and the number of years you've been training.
Hi, I'm Realin. I'm 14 years old, and I've been training for 8 years.
Okay.
And I'm Rob. I'm going to be 45 tomorrow, and also 8 years.
Okay. No, go ahead.
No, good.
So Rob, you trained previously before this past 8 years, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's pretty much all encompassing. So I did about a year or so when I was a kid, and then about 7 years here with you guys.
Gotcha. Okay. So our dojo has only been open for 3 years, and these two are actually from our previous dojo. So our previous instructor actually had his club running for about, 31 years,
30,
I think?
Yeah, since 85, that's when I started with him.
Yeah.
When it opened, that's when I started.
Yeah. So it's been a while. And how old were you whenever you first started with
10.
Les? 10 years old.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Jeremiah and I talk about this a lot with people who come into the dojo if they've trained previously with our previous instructor, that we sometimes take a different approach. Sometimes it's a good thing. For some people, it's a bad thing. Rob, you want to tell us a little bit about what it was like training there as a kid?
Well, it was definitely different. So I think like Jeremiah can probably attest to, training 20 years ago, 30 years ago is very different than today. Today there's a lot more emphasis on doing things properly for your body. And back then it was a lot to do with just beating the hell out of each other. So it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot more body conscious now. I mean, you're not hurting yourself, you're not breaking your limbs, you're not getting broken noses as a 10-year-old kid, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, you'd hope that with most clubs, but you never know. Some of them
there
are.
still might be some of them out there. I'm sure there are.
They're still breaking noses, breaking bones,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. Okay, so can you guys tell us what were some of your most memorable times in training thus far? So you've been training for a total of 8 years. Within that entire 8 years, what were some of the most memorable moments you had in training or memorable time periods in training?
So one of mine might have been one of my first seminars, because that was really a time whenever I saw just a whole lot of people knowing how to do the same stuff, and it just made me realize how big karate got.
Yeah.
Yeah, so getting to just see a new group of people, see
Yeah.
different people who are into the same thing. Totally agree. That is like one of the coolest experiences once you get outside your own dojo and outside of like what you're used to and the people you're used to being around. Yeah, super exhilarating and really exciting. All right, Rob.
Yeah, I think it was one of the seminars, the second one when Realin and I came up to, I think it was Pensacola, there was a second one and it's just the two of us. We can only stay for a couple days, but that was a really nice seminar. It was just, we got to hang out and just, it was all karate. The rest of the family wasn't there and we weren't breaking to go to the beach or do anything else afterwards. So that was probably one of the best weekends. Of course, there's been a bunch of them. Pretty much remember all the weekends trainings at Jeremiah's club back years ago. When some of the other kids were getting ready for their Shodan exam.
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time going back and forth up there at least once or twice a month, I think, for a while. So it's been pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think anytime somebody is getting ready to train for Shodan, like Jeremiah's mentioned this a couple of times, that whenever a group of people or a small group of people are getting ready to train for Shodan, like everybody else has to suffer with them. So you get like really intense training all at the same time, which is actually a lot of fun. So those were seminars when we were going to train with Steve Ubel, right?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The ones in, both of them were in Pensacola.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was one in Ocala.
Yeah.
But the one in Pensacola, that was like I said, I just remembered that one because there was a large group of people there. It actually was really good sized. And, I think the first one there was quite a few people there one day, but the whole weekend was busy on that one. So.
Gotcha.
It's pretty cool.
And then what would you say, out of that 8 years of training, what was one of the most unpleasant parts of training?
So I was frozen. Like, I didn't move on to the next rank, going from, I think, green belt to my first brown belt. And that was a not fun experience because I did not feel like I should even continue karate. I stopped for like a couple months because I lost.
Well, you were the whole dojo was stuck for I think almost 2 years.
Yeah.
There was not one rank in a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
So it started getting, and then we're going to other dojos, other places, seeing other people, and everybody's progressing.
Yeah.
It was kind of.
Yeah.
It was hard seeing and thinking that you weren't training enough.
Yeah.
And putting forth enough effort.
So there toward the end of the previous dojo, because the instructor was just getting up there in age and I think kind of wanting to move on to other things, we didn't have tests as consistently, and we had a number of students that were not progressed in rank. There wasn't a lot of testing going on. And then, so Realin, you were testing from I guess you were going from in that dojo, it was green belt to a brown stripe or 2 brown stripes or something on your belt, right?
It was something dealing with green to brown stages.
Okay, so it would have been 5th Q to 4th Q for anybody who has different colored belts. So she was kind of right there in the middle. Yeah. Being frozen, which is a fancy way of saying you failed, it's not fun at all. And it definitely makes you feel like a failure when, sometimes it's just a small thing here and there that some instructors will hold you back for. So yeah, I can see where that would totally suck. But you came back to karate. Why'd you come back?
Well, partially because my mom made me. Because whenever I was doing it to begin with, I was really liking it, and once I got into class, it was fun. So then she wanted me to go back and begin to start liking it again. So
yes, so made you like stuff.
Yeah,
Give it a shot.
All right, Robin, one of the most unpleasant parts of your years of training.
Popping my calves and my hamstrings.
Oh God, that was recent.
Yeah, so it seems like every winter, when we, for some reason or another, on a Saturday morning class, there's some kind of back kick action that just takes out my leg for about 2 months.
Should we all point the finger at Jeremiah for a second here for the back kicks?
What?
Do you make her do spinning back kicks?
No, it was. I don't even remember. The last time it was probably February, March.
Oh God, yeah.
And it was unpleasant, but it's happened 4 times?
Well, that was at one of our Saturday black belt trainings, right? Where you had that one. Was that one your calf or your hamstring?
That was hamstring. No, that was a hamstring.
It's all kind of connected.
The 2 before that was calves. And I had a calf probably about 6 years ago, just on a random Thursday night, stepped wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot of flexibility in my ankles, and it just you heard the pop, and that was it. 2 months later, you can try again.
Oh, yes.
But that's the part that sucked the worst.
Yeah, we did a podcast episode on trying to train, maintaining motivation, especially when you're injured. Were you able to do any type of training at all whenever you had that first injury?
Just thinking about it mentally. If I was around on a Thursday, because I used to travel a lot more, like you guys know. But if I was around, I'd actually come in and watch.
Okay.
I'd watch you guys while things were going on when she was here.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see what's going on, try new things.
Yeah.
Couldn't really do much. It'd get real tender. You could kind of sort of walk through katas and things like that, but that was walking through it. You couldn't do any real motion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely sucked. Those were the times that really were bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that totally makes sense. Injuries is never fun. Okay, so staying on the negative side. So fast forwarding a little bit, any frustrating parts, in your opinion, of preparing for Shodan?
I feel like just having to do katas over and over again. And then you get a correction, and then you can't figure out how to like make it work. And I felt like that was pretty hard, like getting lower in your stance or that stuff.
So implementing certain corrections. So that could be a reflection of your teachers not being able to like make the concept clear or show you in a way that makes sense.
It was just like I've like bad ankles, like they don't stretch.
I can see we have an ankle problem in this family.
Yeah. It was just like I would have to like focus so much on just getting low on one move, and then I couldn't go to the next one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's definitely a matter of practice if you're trying to get lower in a stance. I mean, and I say that from experience because I in a lot of ways I'm still working on the same thing, even though I started it a couple years ago, where, you know, so long we stand in a high stance and our weight's distributed, but it's not really like low enough. So the more you do it, the easier it'll be a transition from one stance to the other. But yes, get you on the correction implementation. All right, so Rob, same thing. Any frustrating parts of getting ready for Shodan?
I mean, it's been really good for me. I mean, as soon as you guys told us the date, I changed my eating, you know, started spending a lot more time on a treadmill.
Yeah.
I mean, I dropped a ton of weight in a short period of time.
Oh, wow.
So it was mainly positive. I can't really, I mean, yeah, sometimes it sucks, you know, you keep making mistakes. Like, I don't know why I made the same mistake in the same kata every time I had to do it in front of somebody. But if I did it by myself, I never had a problem. So that was a frustrating part. But no, it's been pretty good, actually. It's worked out real well.
So this is what I referenced in the last podcast about when we were on the exam, Jeremiah and I and one of the others were just like watching you go through Concord. We're like, oh my God, please make it through, because there's a section with the side snap kick into the elbow strikes. Yeah. And then into the knife hand blocks where he kept skipping the knife hand blocks. I'm like, oh God, please don't miss it. And then you got through, and I was like, oh yes. And I was like, wait a minute, he's not done yet. So I'm like gripping the seat.
That was the only part that I always screwed up. I screwed it up every time I did it in front of people. But as long as we do it at the house, like you know, probably about 2 months before, when we were, you know, every now and then we'd go out in the garage and never had a problem.
Yeah,
we'd go through all of it and no mistakes, of course. With all the corrections that you guys have been passing down to us in the last 6-8 months, you know, of course, there's things that just don't look as good as they probably should and things like that. But the katas were always good. And then I get in front of a group of people and screw it up. Only that one, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, oh well.
Well, you know, it's funny, as I totally expected the part where, you know, we give you one correction and then we come back and say something different later. Yeah. So one of the problems with continuing to be a student is that when Jeremiah and I get corrections, we have to go to these two and kind of pass things down. And we're not trying to pass down things that we're working on necessarily, but sometimes it just kind of happens because if we get fundamental corrections, then we don't want them to continue on doing stuff that we harped on at one point that come to find out we were wrong. So we would give them a correction or 2 or 7 on a kata, and then we would come back a few months later and we're like, yeah, so all that stuff we said, it was wrong. So we have to fix all of this. And they would finally got to the point, I think, where you just kind of look at us and shake your head and you're like, okay, whatever.
Well, that's what we do. You know, we're here to learn too, so we just say, okay, and you explain it to us and you show us and it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, but it's one of those things that you just got to sometimes do it a few times before you get it right, and then just go home like we do for many Thursdays in a row. We went home and said, yep, we still suck. That's all we got. You know, we got corrected again. Yeah. But
well,
it's all part of it, right?
Beginner's mind, I think.
Yeah.
So how did you guys feel going into your exam? Like or maybe like the past month or so, getting ready, going up into Saturday?
I was counting down the days, and I was like seeing how many weeks and how many classes we had before the test, and like the closer we got, I got so stressed out.
Oh no.
Because I was getting corrections still, and I was like, oh my God, I only have like 2 classes to get this
to be
right.
Perfect.
It was a little stressful.
So we just don't let up. Actually, it's probably me.
Well, we were just waiting for it to get there. Yeah, that was a big thing. It was. We know we're going to get corrected all the time. I mean, Jeremiah said it 1,000 times that you're just, if you don't want corrections, then don't continue doing karate, because you're going to over the years find different things. Your body changes, works differently, so it's always evolving. I don't think there again preparing. It was just every day doing something.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't feel like doing something, I did something.
Yeah.
Even if it was sitting in the chair, thinking about, all right, sink lower. Because that sound in the back of my head for a month was sink lower, get lower. You're not low enough. You know, because that was what you guys were working on, and
Yeah.
it got emphasized.
That was like the theme of the past, like, what, month and a half, 2 months or so. So
Absolutely.
yes, I was kind of a jerk about that. I gotta say, you guys are definitely more hardcore than I was going into Shodan, because I did not like self-train or anything at home or any of that stuff. I was not a good student, I don't think, but you guys definitely, I mean, put the time in.
Well, we tried. Like I said, it was just more, you know, after waiting as long as we did, we didn't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
You know, that was really what it was.
Yeah.
she was freaking out the whole day before, and
Yeah.
well, I wasn't completely not freaking out.
I guess the question I'm gonna ask is, what life lesson did you learn from going through this ordeal? How can you translate what you learned from taking the Shodan test to your life? I guess it's more for Realin.
Yeah.
You know,
Realin, how did this change your life?
I didn't change
Like-
your life, but I mean, there's a lesson there.
Yeah. The lesson I kind of learned was maybe like don't think that you always have the answer. Like there's different ways of looking at stuff,
Yeah.
and maybe try to like take other points of views, mix them with yours or other things that you heard, and like kind of make it into something that works and is right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's one of the beauties, and I've mentioned this a couple times, of having different instructors with different backgrounds, and also different teaching styles. The way that Jeremiah says something is going to be different than the way that I say something, and sometimes the things we say are not really on the same page, because sometimes we're just both still learning. Other times, we're trying to say the same thing, we're just approaching it from different spots, and yeah, like you said, like taking it and combining it together. Dude, I totally agree. When I was about where you are, that's when I started to learn that same thing. It's like, I'm getting yelled at by this instructor, and then yelled at by this instructor, and yelled at by that instructor, and it's like, you have to put it all together, otherwise you're gonna make yourself crazy. So Rob, you can learn any life lessons?
No, I mean, it's been good watching her stick with it. I mean, start off as a, you know, what, 7-year-old kid, and stick with it all this time. Now she's in high school, she's still sticking with it.
Yeah.
And then we're able to do something together.
Yeah.
That's, you know, to me, that's the best part of it.
Yeah.
You know, when you walk around the house punching each other.
Yeah.
You know, you got somebody to do
Sucker
it with.
punch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the name of the guy from Pink Panther that attacks him? Kato?
Oh, yeah.
It's
Hide to
Kato.
the closet to tackle.
There we go.
My dad used to do that. I'd walk up to talk to him and hit me real quick in the gut.
Yeah.
You're quicker than that, boy. Let you take karate.
Yeah.
What you mean? You ain't supposed to hit me. You're my daddy.
Well, toughen you up.
Toughen you up.
That's
Suck
right.
up, buttercup.
There you go. We need that. Well, my dad does that too, so maybe that's just a dad thing. I don't know.
Well, here's the other question. Has the world changed since you got a black belt?
No.
No, it's the same. Is it a letdown?
No.
Yeah, just a little.
A little bit.
It was kind of nice though, like walking in and like tightening my belt. I
Yeah.
felt accomplished.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it
think,
does feel good after the number of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
think one of the lessons that I learned from Shodan, and I think most people do, but it takes a while to realize, is that the confidence you get from it. Going through it all and then knowing that you have the ability to make it through stuff that just isn't comfortable, you know, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Sucks. I mean, you're getting mentally broke down for months. And to be able to get past that and still achieve your goal, that's a heck of a life lesson. That's the one I think, that confidence of what you can do is a big deal.
Yeah, I think, well, it's huge. I mean, what, 5 years?
Yeah.
5 years I spent at brown belt. 4 or 5 years.
Holy, that's a long time.
Because, well, and then when we got to a certain point, I was like, well, I don't even want to go until she's ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so it was challenging at times, you know, getting it together and going and getting ready to go and everything else. But, you know, we stuck with it.
Especially when you're in like public school like me, and then there's like sports games going on. There's dances. There's just like parties that your friends are having, and then sometimes you just gotta go to karate and do that instead, because that's it's something you have to work towards.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, dude, that's part of the trudging through the muck, I guess, and continuing it on. I remember being...
I would venture to say karate gives you lifelong memories. Most of the things you talk about, you'll probably forget about by next week.
Yeah.
No disrespect to that. But a party you'll forget about next week. Unless something bad happened, then it's, whatever. It's gossip.
Well, and now it's still online, so she can just go back and look at it, right? Whatever happened, it's on TikTok.
Yes, go on TikTok and see what your friends are doing. See, we didn't have all that back then. But I used to, on when I was like 16 years old and I finally was able to drive, I used to go, I would still like go and hang out with friends and go to sports things and stuff, but then like Saturday mornings when we had class, 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, get up, go to class. Mm-hmm. I don't recommend everybody do that, but that's what I did. So it's I think when you're in karate for so long, it changes your mindset about a lot of different things. It changes like your ability to persevere and stuff. So any inspirational words, we're kind of talking about this, any inspirational words for other folks who are preparing for Shodan or who maybe want to be able to get to that point in the future?
Don't think that you suck.
That's your inspiration. Don't think you suck.
Even though you're getting corrections, like, at least you're not getting so many corrections that it overwhelms you. Like, you got to think, like, okay, at least I can do this right. Now I just got to add this on top of it.
Just stick within your bounds. I mean, I'm not the most flexible guy. I mean, there's a lot of kids that, kick way better than I do. Realin is capable of doing things that I can't, as far as physically. But I just work within it. Just do what you got to do. Take the corrections. I mean, you guys understand it. You see that there's days that I move and I got, I can barely stand up sometimes because of the ringing in my ears or, maybe I sat in the car too long, my back's hurt, things like that. So, but just stick with it, stay within your bounds, and press on.
Awesome. Okay, so we end every podcast with talking about what we are currently working on in karate. So we'll go first. Jeremiah, what are you working on?
Snap kick and fudo dachi. So my timing and my side snap kick is not exactly on. And the articulation of my kick is kind of slightly off. And then fudo dachi, just trying to get better at sochin, so working on a more proper fudo dachi.
Gotcha.
Rooted stance.
Gotcha.
Lauren?
Yes. Okay, so I'm working on Sochin also, and Sochin stance Fudodachi. Apparently, I don't know how to do that stance, and we recorded another podcast earlier this week, so I think I may have already said that, but what? I apparently don't know how to do Fudodachi, so working on the same stance. And also how you actually rotate your hips and trunk in that stance, which is different than pretty much any other stance, so yeah, working on that. Realin, what are you working on?
Getting lower in my stance and trying to move forward without like lifting my heels up.
Okay.
And trying to like stay low at the same time, so like move my feet in the right way to stay low.
Gotcha. Rob, what you working
Weight
on?
distribution. With the staying low thing, it started making me feel the difference. And then you can actually tell when you're doing back stances, especially when you're doing it right. You feel it in a certain spot in your ankles.
Yeah.
And it just but you also it rests. It's like your body just gets comfortable in a what should feel like an awkward position, but that's pretty much what I've been working on.
That's like the best description of that. Like, feels comfortable in an awkward position, because that is totally what back stance is.
Yeah, and you also realize that when you do it right and you go to move out of it, you move quickly out of it. It's not that you're trying to gear up to get out of that stance and into the next one. It's just, it's instantaneous almost.
Yeah.
So it'll be a struggle. But,
True that.
yeah, but that's what we're here for, right?
Yes. we are here. We are here to struggle together. Awesome. Well, many thanks to our father and daughter duo. Super excited to have new Shodans in the club. These are the first 2 Shodans of our established dojo. So we've been in business. We've been a dojo for 3 years. These 2 came over from the previous dojo. So really excited that these 2 have continued on and they've gotten to this point. So high fives to you guys. Yeah. Great job. And peace out.
Yeah. Be good.